is in Melbourne, Florida. Hi, Bo. How are you?
Hey, Dave. Hey, Rachel. I am so happy to be speaking to both of you.
You
today.
too. What's up?
Hey, so, just some quick background. Life is pretty good overall, I'd say. I'm debt-free, got an emergency fund. I'm, 3 weeks into a new job, which I am learning a lot in, and I really wanted to do for a long time.
How old are you?
28. I'll be 29 in September.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much, yeah. But with all that, my parents bring up every so often, and it's not the first time that this has come up too, just the topic of, well, you're doing all these great things, but you got to think about getting a credit card for whenever you want to buy a home and everything too. And it's not the first time it's come up, and I'm just trying to look for some ideas or pointers on how to, respectfully, have this, talk to them about this if this ever comes up again, because I've made it clear that I'm following your plan and that I don't want to go into debt or use one. And that, the other thing they bring up too is, well, if you get a home without a credit score, you'll have an insane amount of interest, or you may pay more interest than you may want to, so it might be good to have it anyway. So that's the main point that they're bringing up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll start and just tell you that the information that they have is not accurate. That's just not true. That's just simply not true. Okay. Tens of thousands of people get mortgages every year that have zero credit score. You have to go, and they do not get penalized with a higher interest rate. They get the exact same interest rate. And all you've got to do is go to Churchill Mortgage that we've endorsed here for 20 plus years on the air. And it's called manual underwriting, and they check to see that you have a job, and they check to see that you have a down payment, and they check to see that you don't have a bunch of delinquencies on your credit. But if you have a zero credit score and there's no activity on your credit at all, you can get a home mortgage without a higher interest rate, and you can get a home mortgage. You have to have been steady on the job, and you have to have a reasonable down payment, but it's like they're actually checking to see if you're breathing before they make the loan, in other words. And that's how it's done. And so I don't know where mom and dad got their information, but they're wrong.
And I think, Bo, when a lot of people talk about getting a house without a credit score, there's some people that don't even realize that you can. Like, some people are like, oh no, you have to have a credit score. Then there's those that have information that's not correct, and that floats around a lot in that world. So they've probably read some article or heard a friend talk about it or something. But I think you having facts on your side is probably the best bet. And I mean, you could, you almost frame it like, I appreciate that you guys are concerned. Like, I appreciate that. But what you're concerned about is something that is unnecessary because of X, Y, and Z. I'm going to, when it's time to buy a home, I save up my down payments. And this is the route that I've chosen to walk down.
If you wanted to, you could actually call Churchill Mortgage and just say, I talked to a mortgage company and they told me they were able to do it. And it's one that works through the Dave Ramsey organization, and they're endorsed by them, and so they've learned how to do it. A lot of mortgage companies don't know how to do a mortgage without a credit score. The mortgage business has been dumbed down to where a monkey can make a loan. If the monkey can identify the number on the credit score, you got the loan, right? That's all it is. And so there's lots of problems with that for the mortgage business, but when I got my real estate license 1,000 years ago in 1978 at 18 years old, the only way you could get a mortgage was they actually did underwriting on the loan, meaning they did a VOD and fill out a form of verification of deposit on your down payment, and a VOE, a verification of your employment, and they made sure you were breathing and made sure that you didn't have outstanding warrants for your arrest and other stuff. Just basically looking to see if you wanted to make a loan to this person instead of just looking at one number and going, you got the loan, right? And so but the business has changed, and it is largely done on credit scores now. So a lot of people just don't know the information, and so and then the other thing that happens too here is this is a bit of a boundary conversation with your mom and dad. Okay, this is not a conversation I would have with one of my grown kids, even if they were doing something I thought was completely wrong. I mean, they're still preaching to you with their parent voice, is what you used a while ago. You don't get to do that anymore when your kids are grown. When you're 29 and you're paying your own bills, you have to treat them like an adult and stuff. And so if Winston and Rachel were doing something that was out of line, I would not come in and go, "You're out of line," and use my dad voice. I would come in and go, "Guys, I'm don't understand this, and I've got a question about this, and I'm worried about this, and what do you think about this?" And I would ask some questions that way instead of coming in and going, "You need to get a credit card because you're like 12 years old, and you're going to do what I tell you to do." And so that's the dad. You don't use the dad voice on your grown kids. It doesn't work, or unless your grown kids are wimps. And you're not a wimp. You're a 28-year-old stud. So, you just be kind to your mom and dad. As Rachel said, be respectful, thankful for, your interest and your concern. I talked to Churchill Mortgage, and it turns out I don't have to have a credit card. And I'm really convicted, Dad, about not falling into this debt trap that all of America's fallen into. And I'm convinced that becoming wealthy is easier if I don't have payments. And so I'm just not going to fall into the trap of chasing a false god called FICO. I'm not going to worship at the altar of the great FICO. He is not my provider. "Oh, FICO, thank you. We bring you offerings of interest so that you can give us good things like a home." I'm not worshiping at this altar. And, you don't have to be smart and sarcastic like me. You can be kind and nice and respectful.
Yep. And to your parents, their perspective is they may never have thought about this. Like there's people, obviously, millions and millions of Americans who don't know and they don't follow this stuff, so you can enlighten them as well.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like I was talking to a friend of yours the other day here in the building, and she was telling me about 5 years ago when they first got married, the mother-in-law would come in and would be upset if they weren't coming to their house for Thanksgiving, and was like going to tell everybody what to do. And this is a grown woman she's talking to, and the daughter-in-law said, "Well, no, we're not going to be there on Thanksgiving. We're going to our parents on Thanksgiving. Next year we're coming to your house. We do every other, and that's what we do." And this woman demanded that they were at her house every Thanksgiving, and there was no alternative, and you couldn't, and it was not leaving room for the grown child,
to make a decision.
the daughter-in-law, to make their own decision. And she said, "Well, of course we're not doing that." And I thought that was an interesting thing. Of course I'm not getting a credit card. And it wasn't like I'm mad at you or something, but of course I wouldn't do that. It's just, I thought that was a great answer. It was a different position to take with the parent or the parent-in-law in terms of the way the conversation goes and so forth.